Hello everybody. So I'll start by telling you guys an incident that my friend who teaches in a school told me. So she teaches for students from about 5th to 7th. So one fine day when she was teaching for 5th standard, and she asked these kids a question. She asked them, how did Newton discover gravity? And students were not able to reply. They said, "No idea, ma'am." And she replied to those questions that she asked the students by saying that so this Mr. Newton was sitting under a tree one fine day, and an apple fell on his head, which led to him discover the gravity. So there was this child right at the back seat who stood up and spoke with a very sarcastic tone. He asked the teacher, "Teacher, so shouldn't we be outside the classroom space doing random things, sitting under a tree and stuff like that? So we will go into discovering things rather than enclosing ourselves inside four walls. Don't you think that is a better idea?" So even though this whole incident was told to me in a very funny way by my friend, there's a lot to look at into this particular incident. Education. Education is a very important aspect. The future of our country depends on education. Without education, we'll have a generation which is not qualified to run a country. So education is that important. If you take Constitution, Article 21A provides free and compulsory education to all the children from age 6 to 14. This article also gave birth to Right to Education Act of 2009. So that is how much important the education is, to have a better educated and qualified country to be in competition with rest of the countries around the world. So even if you look at our state, TamilNadu, Kamaraj, one of the former chief ministers of the state, he encouraged students to come into school by providing them midday meal. Thousands of kids came to school because of that. So the government have been doing a lot of things to encourage these kids to come to school. So education has been given that many importance. So, and one of the things that we have to understand is this education that we have been given, is it enough? There is an age-old saying that goes, education helps a generation to climb out of poverty. Is it true? Do I personally believe in it? It can be yes and no. Because there is a lot to think into when it comes to education that we have to provide our children. So according to me, the education system, the current education system, is completely flawed. Though we have an increase in literacy rate in most of the states in our country. If we take Kerala, there is about almost 100% literacy. In Tamil Nadu, we also have a lot of literacy rate. Literacy is growing. 70% of students from children from ages 7 to 10 are going to school. There is a steep drop when the population gets older, which have to be taken into consideration. But when you look at education from a bigger perspective, there is a lot to think about, and I don't agree with the education system, like I was saying earlier. Why is that? Why is our education system flawed? Our education system is flawed because the students who come out of school and colleges are not skilled. They are not skilled enough to get employed. That is one of the reasons why we have a large number of unemployment. We have about 17.8 million population unemployed, and about 300 million population who work in a very menial, vulnerable jobs. That is the current situation in our country. What could be the reason? The reason is not being skilled, like I said earlier. We have politicians and party members who keep coming onto the stage and promising jobs and jobs and jobs, but they are not looking at the core issue that is present in our country. An IBM CEO, Gina Ronette, said recently in an article that there are jobs available for unemployed population in India, but the problem is that they are completely unemployable because they don't have the necessary skill set. You need skill to give them the job. If they don't have the skill and give them the job, the company which provides them the job or provides them the platform is going to go into the gutters. That is the reason why there is an immense population of unemployment. This has to be taken into consideration and a solution has to be brought in on this accord. The education system we follow is called the rote education system. The education system that we follow in our country is called the rote education system. This rote education system was implemented in our country by the British during the colonial era. What is this rote education system? The rote education system, in a very simple way I would explain, it is where we memorize it and use it to write an exam. It's all about memorizing, 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 and memorizing. As simple as that. If you look at the countries around the world, most of the colonies colonized by the British had the system. Like we had it in Brazil, in Sri Lanka, in India, in Korea, in Pakistan, in Hong Kong. All these countries follow this system. Of course, it is British to blame, but it is time we come out of it and evolve and provide an education system suitable for the 21st century, where our children are competing against a population around the country. We are in a constant competition, and we have to equip our children to fight against other countries, to stand tall. So because of the rote education system, the complexities of a subject can't be understood. So our children won't be able to go into research and development and understand any subject in depth. They'll have a comprehensive view which wouldn't help, which would only help in writing an exam and passing and getting good marks, which on a bigger extent, on a bigger perspective, wouldn't help them get a job in the international market. So that is the reason why our education system is flawed. We have to change, we have to bring about difference in our system. This is priority number one. The second thing, this is also important, this is equally important, is the ability to think. Children should be encouraged to think on their own feet. I again am a product of this rote education system. It took a long time for me to come out of the kind of predicament that I was in. I should thank the teachers in college who helped me out of that and who encouraged me to think. So when students in classroom space ask a question, the teacher should never snub them down. They should encourage students to ask more and more questions. As they ask more questions, probably at the initial level they must be asking stupid questions, but that's okay. That is how they improve. Never make fun of them. Let them ask as many questions as possible which would take them on a path of thought. They should also have a lot of clubs and a lot of opportunities where they are taught to think. So you should not put them in an enclosed space and just teach them the syllabus. Yes, of course, syllabus is important, but thinking is also important. I was recently reading an article. This was on the kind of problem that China faced. Because of communism, during the Maoist period, there is an entire population who just can't think, who can only work on a command, because thinking was not allowed, because other than that, communism wouldn't work. So that is a kind of problem that we have to change. We have to bring a difference that has to be taken into consideration. The final thing that I want to tell you guys is about bombarding children with exams and different kinds of qualifying tests. Do that and do this, and just bombarding them with a lot of supplies. Why do that? You have to make things simple. Recently, there was the whole NEET incident that has been taking part, that has been happening in our state and also throughout the country, where the children were just killing themselves because they are unable to take the pressure. Make it simple for them. Another question that I want to ask is that, what are the subjects for NEET? We have physics, we have chemistry, we have biology. The same subjects that the math biology student in a 12th standard would have. So what is the difference? So are you saying the 12th standard is much worse than the NEET? Why have two separate exams to prove themselves? Why are you putting them in that kind of a situation where they have to learn and learn and learn, not enjoy their education system? So I would suggest bring in an aptitude test. First, we have to understand what is an aptitude. Aptitude means an inclination. An inclination where a person would have. So, an aptitude exam would be prepared such that there are no wrong answers. The answers towards the end would show the kind of inclination a student would have. So, for example, if you write an aptitude test, and if the aptitude exam shows that this child is good at machines, then that is where the child should go into, because that is his strength. If he is good as a writer, then he should be writing, he should be a writer, and that, because that is where his strength is, and that is where he would excel. That is what we have to do. But another thing that we have to look is the stigma that is very existent in our society. A stigma that being a doctor is much better than a teacher. How is that possible? Who wrote the laws? Impeccable. No, that is very bad. So first we have to educate the society that every job is important in itself. Every job coincides with everybody have to live together in an ecology, in an ecosystem. Everything is important to another job. That is how we have to look into. That is important. So, the aptitude test would show us that this kid is good at this, and we have to have a counselor who would encourage this kid to go into that and excel in that. That is how we should have the education system drawn. This would only help, rather than pouring out pressure on these kids. They know their strength and they would excel. As simple as that. Rather than having unnecessary qualification exams. Make it simple. That is how important this is. If these essentials or aspects that are put forth are taken into consideration, We have a generation of highly qualified children who would help grow our country and take us to the topmost part, defeating any other country around. That is how good we can be. Only thing is, we have to take a step back and understand the problem and cure it, bring a solution to it. Then we can achieve greatness. Thank you.